it has to be purpose over pleasure. Has to be. And if you don't have a purpose, then you need to start asking yourself, why? Why do you do what you do? Why are you currently where you're at? Is there a reason that you do some things over other things? And if you truly don't have a goal, if you don't have any wants, if you don't have any desires, how can the world give you what you want, your desires, if you don't know what to ask for? How are you going to receive what you don't know what you want? That would be the first step if I were you. When I first started my journey, and it was a long, rocky one, when I first started out and I got out into the real world as a young adult, I got into the party scene. I got into the nightlife. I got into drinking, drugs, all of it. And I did it for years. And that convolutes your vision so much. You don't know what you want. Typically when people get into the nightlife and party scene like myself, and I hear this all the time, it's because you get around people that are successful. They're high achievers. They spend tens of thousands on the weekends, and you're around it, so you feel close to it. You feel like you're close to opportunity. But the delusion is that when you wake up on Monday morning, those people that you were around aren't there anymore and you're still in the same spot. And then you look forward to the next night that you work, or the next night that you're out, so that you can be around it again. And it's this endless vicious cycle that most people never get out of unless you're forced out of it. I was luckily, by the grace of God, universe, forced out of it when COVID happened. And then I struggled to find myself a bit in those months that ensued. It took me about 7-8 months to get back to it. And I realized that waking up at 5 a.m. was a lot better than going to bed at 5 a.m. hungover, off a cocaine binge, or just too drunk to drive home so I'd sleep in my car. That's what I used to do. Years later, I found myself in sales. It was the best thing that ever happened to me in my life. And when I first got into day sales, and it's direct sales, right? For those of you guys that don't know or haven't seen some of my past videos, I do door-to-door sales. I sell solar. That's what I do. And when I first got into that, I didn't realize the immense opportunity that it was, and the ability to literally be able to be a millionaire if you so deem it and you want it. It actually is possible in a sales position like this because it's commission only. You simply earn what you put in. If you don't put in anything, you won't get out anything. And so I had this opportunity with no ceiling in front of me, and I even pissed that away for the first almost year. Right? I got into it in March of 2022, and it wasn't until January 1st of 2023 that I woke up and I said, no more of this, because I was on and off. My vision still wasn't clear. I didn't know what I wanted. And if you don't know what you want, how can the universe give you something that you don't know what to ask for? It's like going to dinner, and the waiter or waitress comes up to you and they say, hey, what do you want for food? And you haven't looked at the fucking menu. How are they going to serve you if you don't know what you want? The first step in the process is knowing what you want. And when I woke up on January 1st, 2023, I knew what I wanted. I knew I wanted to be a better man. I know I wanted to be hyper successful. I know I wanted to achieve great things. To do this, I know that I had to stop sleeping in. I know that I had to start developing better habits. I knew I had to start working harder than I was. So on January 1st, 2023, I decided I'm not drinking anymore. I'm dropping my vices. Vices are what hold you back. Vices are what make people hop into the hamster wheel. Vices are what make people spin their tires. Vices convolute vision. They blur vision. So I dropped all my vices on January 1st, 2023, and I also decided, hey, if I get out exactly what I put in, then I will put in everything I have. And And so I decided to work 7 days a week. It's sales. And you can decide to go talk to somebody whenever you want. So why wouldn't you talk to people every day? That was my logic. And so I decided to start doing that. 2023 happened to be the greatest year of my life. I never faltered from that vision. I never shifted from the path. In 2023, January to December of 2023, I earned more in that year than I had earned in almost, I did the math on this, in almost the past 12 years of my life. I earned more in 1 year than I earned in the past 12 years of my life prior to 2023. It was all a simple change. And it was simple because simply put, I put down on paper exactly what I wanted, and I knew what I wanted. You need to choose purpose over pleasure. Purpose serves. Pleasure takes away. Pleasure is that short-term gratification where it hits at first, and then you get nothing out of it. Sounds like vices, right? That is pleasure. Choosing purpose over pleasure. That day that you do that and make that choice is going to be the day that your life changes permanently and forever. But none of you do it. Nobody can do it. There are mega millionaires and even billionaires that still can't drop some of their vices. And so my question to you is, if you were to drop all of your vices, where do you think you would be in 5 years? How quick do you think that you would accelerate if you were to drop all vices, when other high achievers and high successful people can't even drop all of them? This is how I see it. I'm not the smartest out there. I'm not the most skilled. I've never been the absolute best in the room. But if you can be the hardest worker, right? Listen to this. It takes zero skill to show up early. It takes zero skill to put in max effort and be the hardest or one of the hardest workers in the room at all times. And if you can do that, over time, you develop skill. Over time, you become the best in the room. Does that make sense? Now you ask, okay, well, how do I choose purpose over pleasure? Where do I start? Like I said, you start by putting it down on paper, but to start the process of purpose over pleasure, you need to instill habits. Habits. It is always habits. If a man is right, his world is right. And habits make man. Man is mankind. Mankind is man and woman. So for all of you watching this, your habits are what make you. And if a man is right, his world is right. It becomes right. There's a great quote that I hear a lot of people say now, Marcus Aurelius, right? One of the greatest leaders this world has ever seen. Straightened, not straight. That means that every single day you must straighten yourself. You don't just do a set of things and become straight and then it stays like that. You either always progress or you regress. There is only progression and regression. There is not stagnation. Stagnation does not exist. You go to a swamp over time, it just looks more and more like shit. Think about that. There is only progression and regression. So you instill positive daily habits that force you to choose purpose over pleasure. That is when contentment sets in. True contentment, true fulfillment, because you knew you did the things that you had to do. You know that you're becoming a better example of what future success is going to look like. Constant habits that serve purpose over pleasure is where you start. This is what creates confidence. Early wake-ups, getting your workout in, being active, taking care of yourself. You start internally, and it never ends. It doesn't end 1 year from now, 5 years from now, 15 years from now. It never ends. And it all starts internally and stays there. You need to work on your mental and your physical. Then spiritual comes around. Everyone has it so backwards. They start with this intensity, right? Where it's intense. It's a crazy daily structure where, you have this 3-4 hour morning routine and all these different habits and routines that you pepper throughout the day without any knowledge to begin with. And the knowledge is this, and it's simple. Everyone always overcomplicates it and they skip the basics. Wake up early. Wake up before the average man wakes up. Average person wakes up at 7 a.m. That's the average man. It's the average woman. Do you choose to be average, or do you choose to be more? That's your first answer. You need to wake up earlier than that. You need to wake up at least 5 a.m. because you need time for solitude. You need time to think. You need time to read. You need time to reflect. If a man cannot reflect, that man is a useless man because he never has time to reflect on himself and what he could do and be better at. He doesn't have time to reflect on his vision, which you need. Going back to the fact that if you don't know what you want, if you don't know what to ask for, how can you ever be served it? How can you ever attain it? The early wake up, the early morning workout, the reading, the journaling, the reflection. This is stuff that can all be done within 2 hours, 3 hours. And if you wake up early, by the time everyone else's head wakes up off of the pillow, picks up off of the pillow, you've already stacked 4 or 5 wins for your day, and then you start your day. You're ahead of everybody. That is where contentment sets in. That is where fulfillment sets in. Because you know you're doing more. Now you know it's impossible not to succeed. So start there. Purpose over pleasure. Purpose over pleasure. Don't forget it.